Here's the shocking truth. If you own an iPhone right now, there's a real chance you won't be able to use Apple's brand new AI Siri when it drops this fall. Not because your phone's broken, not because you haven't updated it, but because Apple's locked the most advanced version behind specific hardware gates. Only the iPhone 16 and iPhone 15 Pro models are getting the full package. That means if you're rocking an iPhone 14, iPhone 13, or anything older, you're getting left behind. And that's millions of people. For a company that prides itself on serving the entire ecosystem, this move is sparking real frustration. Apple's framing this as a technical limitation. The new Siri needs specific chip capabilities that older phones simply don't have under the hood. And that's not wrong, exactly. But it's also worth asking, is this truly about hardware? Or is Apple using AI as the perfect excuse to drive an upgrade cycle? The truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. What makes this even more interesting is that this isn't the first time Apple's done this with AI features, but it is the most dramatic split yet. So what exactly is Apple shipping with this new Siri? How powerful is it really? And what does this mean for the hundreds of millions of iPhone owners watching from the outside looking in? That's what we are breaking down today. To understand why Apple's drawing this line in the sand, you need to rewind about a year. Apple's been watching Nvidia, Google, and Microsoft absolutely dominate the AI conversation, and Apple's been suspiciously quiet. The problem? They wanted AI features, but they also wanted them done locally on your phone, not shipped off to a server somewhere. That's a massive technical challenge, because it means you need a chip inside your phone powerful enough to run language models without draining the battery in hours. Here's the thing. Apple's spent the last 2 years secretly designing the A18 Pro chip, specifically for local AI processing. This chip has neural engine improvements that older processors just don't have. It's roughly similar to why Nvidia's H100 graphics card is built differently than their consumer chips. It's purpose-built for a specific job. So when Apple finally said, okay, we're ready to ship AI on device, they looked at their hardware lineup and realized only the newest phones have the capability to run this stuff safely. The iPhone 15 Pro came close because it had an A17 Pro chip with decent neural capabilities. So Apple decided to include it in the launch. But anything older, the gap is real. And here's where it gets interesting. This is actually honest from Apple, but it's also a brilliant business move that'll push millions of people toward an upgrade. So let's get surgical about this. Apple's new Siri AI is available exclusively on iPhone 16, iPhone 16 Plus, iPhone 16 Pro, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. You also get it on iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max. That's it. That's the complete list. If you're using an iPhone 15, iPhone 14, iPhone 13, or anything older, you don't get access to this version, at least not this year, and probably not ever on those devices. Now, Apple's official position is that this is purely technical. The A18 and A18 Pro chips in the iPhone 16 lineup have what's called an 8-core neural engine, while the A17 Pro in the iPhone 15 Pro has a 6-core neural engine. There's also a difference in the overall architecture, the bandwidth, the memory access patterns, the way these chips talk to the GPU. It's genuinely more complex than just core count. But here's what's wild. Even the difference between iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Standard is huge. Apple could theoretically make a neutered version of this new Siri that works on older chips, but they've chosen not to. That's a business decision wearing a technical hat. The reality is, Apple's using this as the headline feature of the iPhone 16 lineup. This is what they want people to upgrade for. And honestly, from a marketing standpoint, it works. Nothing drives upgrades like exclusive features. Right, so what's this new Siri actually capable of? This is where it gets exciting. The new Siri can handle way more complex requests than before. It understands context better, remembers what you asked it 5 minutes ago, and can chain multiple actions together. Imagine asking Siri, show me photos from my trip to Barcelona last summer, but only the ones with people in them, and organize them by date. Old Siri would struggle with that. New Siri handles it smoothly. You can also interact with your apps more naturally. Instead of saying, open the Photos app then search for dogs, you just say, find all my dog photos from last year and make a slideshow. Siri gets it. The other killer feature, On-device processing means your requests stay private. Apple isn't sending your voice to servers somewhere. Everything happens locally on your phone. That's a massive privacy win. There's also deeper system integration. Siri can toggle specific settings, adjust your automations, even control things across multiple Apple devices at once. Ask it to turn on focus mode, dim the lights, and queue up a playlist, and it just does all of it. The speed improvement is noticeable too. Responses come back instantly instead of the slight lag you'd get with cloud processing. But here's the thing, all of this is technically possible on older phones too. So where does Apple's new Siri stack up against the competition? Google's Assistant has been doing local AI processing for a while now, and Google's whole pitch is that they're putting small language models directly on your phone. They're claiming faster responses and better privacy. But here's the difference. Apple's approach is more integrated into the OS itself. Siri isn't just a separate app you open, it's woven through the entire operating system. That means it can do deeper things with your settings, your shortcuts, your automations. Google's Assistant is more of a standalone AI chatbot overlaid on Android. Amazon's Alexa is cloud-first, which means it's always been designed around sending your voice to servers. That gives Alexa more flexibility in some ways, but it's slower and raises privacy concerns. Then there's Microsoft with Copilot, which is basically their attempt to embed AI across everything. But Copilot is primarily a Windows and web experience. It's not as deeply integrated into the OS kernel the way Siri is. The biggest difference between Apple's approach and everyone else: integration depth. Siri doesn't just answer questions, it's part of your phone's nervous system. It thinks like your device, not like an external service grafted on top. That's genuinely hard to replicate, and that's where Apple's real advantage emerges. Now let's talk about what this actually means for you if you don't have one of the eligible phones. The first implication is obvious. You're being nudged toward an upgrade. Apple knows that artificial feature exclusivity is powerful. If you're using an iPhone 14, you're seeing this new Siri and probably wondering if it's worth getting an iPhone 16. For some people that works. For others, it's frustrating. But here's the bigger implication. This sets a precedent. Apple is openly saying that cutting-edge AI features require the newest hardware. That means every single AI feature Apple ships going forward is probably getting the same treatment. So if you buy an iPhone 15 this fall, you might get the base version of this Siri, but you're unlikely to get whatever AI features Apple ships in 2027 or 2028. This creates a two-tier system. There's the people with the newest phones enjoying all the AI bells and whistles, and then there's everyone else watching from behind a window. For the broader market, this is how Apple differentiates from competitors. While Google and Microsoft are trying to democratize AI access, Apple's doing the opposite. They're using it as a moat to push premium upgrade cycles. That's a deliberate strategic choice. It also means the pressure on your battery and processor is going to increase significantly. And this is worth asking. How long will your phone stay relevant if you're locked out of Apple's AI future? So when does this land, and how do you actually get it? The new Siri is rolling out this fall with iOS 18. If you've got an iPhone 16 or iPhone 15 Pro, you'll get it automatically when you update your phone. There's no special setting you need to toggle. Siri just becomes more powerful. But here's what you do need to know. You should make sure your phone has plenty of storage space. On-device AI processing actually requires some extra system files and neural processing engines to cache data locally. So before iOS 18 drops, do yourself a favor and free up at least a few gigabytes if you can. Also, Siri will work better if you've given it permission to access your photos, calendar, messages, and other personal data. Go into Settings, Privacy, and review what Siri can see. The better access you give it, the more helpful it'll be. And honestly, most people should just trust Apple on this one. They're not selling your data, and local processing means nobody at Apple is reading your requests anyway. You want to update to iOS 18 as soon as it's available, not weeks later. These early releases sometimes have quirks that get patched quickly. One more thing, tell your friends with older iPhones not to expect this anytime soon. Apple's made it pretty clear this is exclusive to the new hardware. Here's what this all comes down to. Apple's using AI as the new frontier for upgrade cycles. This isn't the first time they've done this with new technologies. They've always locked cutting-edge features to the latest hardware. But AI might be the biggest driver yet because it's fundamental to how your phone works going forward. If you're sitting on an iPhone 14 or older, this announcement probably stings a bit. You're looking at a phone that'll eventually feel out of touch with the future. That doesn't mean your current phone is bad, it just means the trajectory is clear. Apple's saying the future belongs to the latest devices. For everyone else, this is a reminder. If you want to stay on the bleeding edge of Apple's innovation, upgrades are going to happen faster and more often. This is the new normal. The bigger picture is that Apple's betting that on-device AI processing is the killer feature that'll make people care about raw hardware power again. For 2 decades, most people's phones were powerful enough. Now Apple's trying to change that story. They're saying, you need this much power because the AI demands it. Whether that's entirely true or just savvy marketing, you get to decide. What we know for sure is this. When iOS 18 drops this fall, the divide is going to be real. And if you're locked out, you'll feel it. Follow for daily AI news so you don't miss what comes next.